Welcome back to the YouTube channel for the New England Player. I am your host and founder, Matthew Andrews. So in this video, we are delighted to bring you another interview here on the New England Players YouTube channel. And in this video, we sit down and have a wonderful conversation with the Vermont amateur competitor, Lucas Politano. Lucas is the winner of this year's Vermont Amateur Championship, which was staged at the iconic Ekwanok Country Club in Manchester, Vermont. And he ended up having such a remarkable week in that he ended up winning the tournament this year by an incredible 12 strokes. So in this video, we talk about some of the things that he attributes to that incredible week that he had this year at the Ekwanok Country Club. We also will compare his win this year to his initial win at the Vermont Amateur Championship back in the year 2024. And we also discuss with him how his college golf is going so far at Rutgers University, as well as some of the things that he has to look forward to for the remainder of this summer. So we certainly hope you enjoy this conversation that we have with Lucas. And as always, please be sure to like this video. Please give a comment below on what you think. And as always, please be sure to subscribe to the channel here to make sure that you don't miss any of our content like this that we have coming forward from here. All right, thanks very much. And let's get into the conversation with Lucas. All right, Lucas. Well, thank you so much for joining me today on the New England Players YouTube channel. It's really great to be talking with you, especially in the midst of your recent accomplishments. So welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah. So what I'd love to be able to talk about with you today, you certainly are coming off of a big couple weeks here. You had your incredible victory at Ekwanok this year for the Vermont Amateur. Certainly, I think if I would imagine if there's anywhere you'd want to win the Vermont Amateur, it's certainly at that place. So again, we'll get into that a tremendous accomplishment that you're just coming out of. I know you're also coming out of a pretty busy week with the New England Am, I think just last week. So a lot going on for you right now. But yeah, I'd love to be able to just talk to you certainly about that. Some of your other accomplishments in the state of Vermont. You're now, of course, a two-time Vermont Amateur winner. Maybe talk a little about your college golf, and then also just kind of your thoughts on New England golf in general. But yeah, before we get into all that, we'd maybe love to get to know you a little bit better first. So maybe talk about where you're from, maybe when you started learning the game, when you started really kind of competing at a higher level, and yeah, just maybe some of your early golf history.
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up in Vermont. I've always kind of been here. My roots are definitely here. And then yeah, my dad got me into the game very early. My first kind of memories were just having plastic clubs out in the backyard. He's been, a PJ professional for long before I was born. So yeah, very early on, I had plastic clubs and I was digging holes in the backyard, kind of swinging away. And yeah, those were like my first memories, and that's kind of where I started to fall in love with the game. I played other sports growing up, so it was never really forced on me by my parents, but it was kind of just the easiest to access, like just going to work with my dad. And then yeah, so ever since then, I fell in love with it very early on. I think kind of middle school, I started taking it a lot more seriously once I kind of started seeing a little bit of success in like the Vermont Junior Tour stuff. And then, yeah, eventually went regionally to New England's and started playing in those events. And then kind of towards the beginning of my high school career, I really started to branch out and traveling all across the country and playing in those events like AJGAs, Challenge Cups, all that sort of thing to kind of get recruited for college golf. And then, yeah, now I'm at Rutgers and yeah, and still enjoying it, so it's great.
Excellent. Excellent. Very good. Well, yeah. So kind of as we mentioned at the beginning of the chat here, you're now a two-time winner of the Vermont Amateur with your the first victory for you in that tournament coming in the year 2024. But leading up to that tournament, what was maybe some of the key accomplishments that you had as a junior golfer in the New England region?
Yeah, so I mean, I had always done pretty well early on in the Vermont things. I won a couple of those like junior amateurs um, when I was very young, and then I kind of stopped playing in those and started branching out in like the New England events. I hadn't really ever won very many times. Um, Leading up to that, but it was sort of kind of like it felt like the Vermont Am was kind of my breakthrough moment early on, and then yeah, I've always been solid. I hadn't really, like I said, I hadn't really won anything. I hadn't, but like some of my I high school stuff, I'd say, were kind of some of my biggest accomplishments. I had won 3 state championships with my team and 3 individually at school, so that was great. Those were kind of some of my best memories, like with my teammates. Those were always so much fun. Um, so yeah, I'd say those were probably some of my biggest accomplishments. And then yeah, the Vermont Am was definitely a big breakthrough moment for me.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. And I think, and you were what, 17 when you won in 2024,
Yeah,
was
I
it?
just turned 17. Yep.
Okay, very good. Yeah, and so I think it would be interesting to understand is certainly how your first victory in the Vermont Am compared to the one this year contrasts, because I think they were two very different tournaments for you.
Very-
So I think
yeah.
in the first one you ended up going into a four-way playoff with a couple other players at Burlington Country Club that year. So what do you remember most about that tournament? What were some of the key moments that you can recall, and what was the nature of the playoff like?
It was yeah, like you said, it was a lot different than this last one. It was kind of one of those ones where it wasn't something that I was expecting to happen. The whole week was kind of weird. We had terrible weather. Um, so it was super rainy. One round got completely rained out, so it was only 54 holes. Um, and I think that now with the way my body kind of is, I think it kind of was an advantage for me because I was a lot smaller. I wasn't in as great a shape as I would be now. So I kind of just tried to use that as my advantage. Of course, was playing really hard, and I had always kind of played well on tough courses. So I knew, if I just kind of hung in there, tried to make a lot of pars that week, that would be a big advantage for me. And try to keep the big numbers off the card. But yeah, I think one of the moments that was kind of key for me was just towards the back nine. I kind of knew that I was somewhat in it, but I wasn't looking at the leaderboard at all, because I didn't want to get too far ahead of myself. And so I had made a bunch of par putts, and then I made a really nice birdie on 17, and then I had made, or I think it was birdie on 16 maybe, and then I had made the birdie on 18 to get into the playoff. So that was really cool. I had like a 4-foot downhill slider. So that was really nice. I knew the next one didn't matter, so I could take a little break out and hit a little bit harder. So that was big, and then got into the playoff. Obviously the nerves were definitely there. I was young, and I hadn't really been in that situation before, so I was super nervous. Um, but it was a pretty easy way for me to reset because it only kind of felt like it was a 4-person field at that point, and I didn't really have to worry about everybody else because there were so many good golfers in that field. And so it was kind of nice to, reset and just worry about those 3 other guys. And then yeah, first hole I made a birdie, and then 2 other guys made par, so it was just me and Walker Allen going down back to the tee. And then yeah, I hit a good drive, and then my second shot went way right. I hit a terrible shot because I hit a 3-wood, and it was terrible. I think I shanked it, which is not good. But and then I had a nice recovery shot up onto the green and sunk the putt for birdie. So that was super cool. That just how it all went down was it was great. And yeah, like I said, it was kind of my first experience being in a playoff, and to kind of break through like that was nice momentum for the rest of that summer.
Excellent. Very good. Very good. That's a great recap of your first big win in the state. It
Yeah,
could
yeah,
certainly capture the Vermont Am as your first big win. That's
yeah,
big about as big a breakthrough moment as you can get, I would say, in any
yeah.
state. So that's fantastic. Awesome. Yeah, and since then, you mentioned that you've now started playing golf for Rutgers University. So talk to us a little bit maybe about your initial experiences coming from the New England area down to like a sporting environment is that, and what is how would you kind of describe like the competitive landscape that you find yourself in? I think for me personally, whenever I think of Rutgers, I think I've certainly heard of like Rutgers football, but like, how's your experience been so far coming down? It's such a sporting environment for New England, and how would you describe the competitive landscape that you find yourself in now?
Yeah, so I quickly realized that there are a lot of very good golfers around the country. I quickly got into a pretty crowded locker room. Being in the Big Ten, got to be super competitive. So we have a lot of talent on the golf team. And yeah, so it was definitely a pretty good wake up call for me early, right once I got there. I wasn't playing great. And then I kind of started to settle in a little bit and started playing some nice golf. But yeah, so it was definitely it was a lot different than what I had been used to, just kind of being in a crowded locker room where as to here it was kind of growing up, I had felt like it was kind of me almost kind of against myself when I was like playing and practicing, because I didn't really have. I mean, I've had people at Ralph Meyer to compete with, but it wasn't really to the same kind of level as it would be at Rutgers. So that was my first kind of time experiencing like real competition, like within your own team, and so that was really nice. It definitely pushed me to play some really good golf to make the lineup. It's definitely not easy to do. And then, yeah, just adjusting to, balancing school and golf at the same time and workouts and all that sort of thing. So definitely it all happened very quickly, but it was really good for me. I think just getting there and kind of hitting the ground running a little bit. And then, yeah, I had some good tournaments there and eventually, um, all things said, had a great year. So.
Awesome. Very cool. And yeah, as far as like the competition that you face, what are some of the schools that you typically face on like a regular basis? Maybe what's like your schedule like, and what are some of the like what are some of the most interesting courses that you've been able to play so far in your competitions?
Yeah, so we play a great schedule. We fly pretty much everywhere we go. Next year, thankfully we'll be hosting 3 events, which will be very nice. We host one down in Seattle, Georgia. That tournament's awesome, and then we'll be hosting at Bayonne and Trump Bedminster. So that'll be really cool for us. And then Big Ten's will also be at Baltusrol. So we'll kind of have a little bit more local tournaments, so as you would say. But yeah, we fly everywhere we go. We've seen a lot of really cool places. I think my favorite course that we were at was probably Erin Hills out in Wisconsin. That place was just unreal. I mean, it's hosted, all the U.S. Opens, all that. So that place was really cool to see, kind of in a U.S. Open type condition. So I really enjoyed, being my time out there. But yeah, other than that, I mean, we're flying, we're golfing. The weeks are long, and yeah, it's just a grind, really. Like just with the flying, being in New Jersey, like you kind of have to get down south and in the colder days. So I mean, it's nice. We play on a bunch of different grasses, and you get used to that sort of schedule. But no, it's great. I love it.
Awesome. Oh, very cool. Yeah, it sounds like, I mean, the courses that you mentioned in that Jersey area, certainly, Baltusrol, Bayonne, those are, absolutely, certainly phenomenal. Erin Hills, of course, which is
Yeah,
in a completely different part of the country.
yeah,
So that sounds like awesome experiences.
yeah, yeah,
That's great. That's
absolutely.
great.
Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah. And so leading into, I guess, this year, um, coming into the 2026 Vermont Amateur and having, some college time now under your belt, what would you say between maybe your first Vermont Am win in 2024 and now having gone through, some time in the competitive world of college golf, as well as leading now into the 2026 Vermont Am, what would you say are some of the key ways that your game has changed since your first Vermont Am win?
Yeah, absolutely. I think my game has evolved a lot just being around a lot of really great golfers all the time at school, and then being with my coaches as well. I've learned so much just about the game in general, not really um, anything swing wise or anything like that, just golf knowledge in general, how to attack a golf course. And then, yeah, we see a lot of really hard setups in college. So I think Ekwanok was going to be definitely a similar kind of like ecology setup, with the way that they tuck the pins and they're on tiers and they're just hard to get to. So I think the way that I learned to kind of attack that kind of setup in college helped me a ton, and it kind of felt like I had a little bit of advantage on the field, having a year of experience in college, doing that. So right away I kind of felt comfortable being out at Aquanic and on a golf course like that with the way that they set it up. So that was definitely super helpful. Yeah, just what I learned from my coaches and teammates and being surrounded by great competition just helped me feel super comfortable on a course that's set up like that.
Yeah, perfect. No, it's like one of the. I think it's like with anybody. It's like I think if you're able to like kind of push your comfort zone in certain ways, like if you feel like you're playing well enough, it's like, hey, just like give the next tee back a shot and just like see what you can
Absolutely.
do. And
Yeah.
even if like you don't play like that well from that setup, when you probably don't even realize like when you go back to the next tee up that you typically will play, you're probably going to actually do a little bit better because you just
Right.
get more comfortable with the way certain
Exactly.
things look or how they're framed or
Yeah.
just getting more comfortable in like just a lot of different situations. So
Yeah.
it's yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
excellent. No, very good. So yeah, so coming into the 2026 Vermont Am, again, it's certainly a tournament that I had on my calendar for I think the primary reason of just coming back to the crown jewel of Vermont, Ekwanok Country Club. So curious for you, when you were coming into this year's Vermont Am, had you had any experiences with Ekwanok, and if so, what were those like?
Yeah, so actually I caddy there. So I'm there probably 2 or 3 times a week during the summer. That was my second summer doing it. So yeah, I kind of seen it all with Aquanic. Obviously, yeah, like you said, it's the crown jewel of Vermont. It's gorgeous. It's definitely my favorite course here. And so yeah, I felt very comfortable. I kind of seen everything that I felt like I needed to see. And yeah, it's just it's a beautiful property. And but yeah, I'd say caddying helped me the most. Get ready for that. It was just like, it was just like a kind of another day where I was on the other side of the bag this time, but usually when I'm out there, I kind of seen it all. So yeah, caddying kind of definitely set me up for success there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can imagine so, certainly.
Mhm.
And yeah, if you were to try to like maybe paint a picture for folks about just what makes aquatics so special, I think probably if I had to guess, I would say if there was one hole that some New England golf enthusiasts might be familiar with, it's probably the par five seventh, which is this big, brawny, almost 600 yards. You've got like that massive, raised portion of the
Yeah.
fairway that you have to hit up to with the big bunkers and the fescue mounds. But what are some of the other holes at Aquanic that you think kind of really define like what the course architecture there is really all about?
Yeah, so Aquanic is in the Equinox Valley, right in the heart of Manchester. It's beautiful, like you're just surrounded by mountains. But yeah, just I, I think probably my favorite hole out there is probably I've always liked two. I think just hitting back up into the mountains is always really cool. Like you kind of go away from the clubhouse on one, and then you're hitting it back towards the mountains on two, and it just looks really cool with like the ball flight and going up against the mountains. That one's really cool. I think 13 is a great par three. It's probably one of the better designed holes I've ever seen. It's just such a good hole. It's got like a big mountain, or not mountain, but it's got a hill on the left with fescue, and kind of part of the green is blind, and they'll put a flag out there on the left, and it'll be kind of a blind shot. And it's just really cool. And like the whole property is just, it's not missing a blade of grass. It's just unbelievable. And if you could imagine kind of like a Vermont course being in a valley surrounded by mountains, that's what it is. It's just beautiful and everything green. And then you get in the fall and it's got all the foliage off the mountains, and it's gorgeous. And yeah, it's definitely my favorite place to be. And it kind of feels like you're in your own little world out there.
Yeah, no, it certainly looks just absolutely phenomenal. I think for me, it's certainly not only one of the special golf places in Vermont, if not the most special, but I would say certainly in all of New England. Again, with just the
Absolutely.
immense history that you have there, Walter Travis designed. I think one of the more interesting facts is I think Abraham Lincoln's son was also the president of the club at one point,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So there's
Yeah.
just like so many even just like cool little facts like that, and of course how can we forget? We have We Met winning his
We
first
met when, yeah.
U.S. amateur there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just the whole nature of it. It just makes it so
Yeah,
special.
13 has that plaque of we met winning on that hole, which is pretty cool. The par three. That's also definitely something I forgot to mention, but it's a beautiful piece of that property.
Yeah, no, most certainly. And I guess with how much experience you have, for the course, as far as your preparations going into the week, was there anything that you felt like you had to make sure that was really tuned up ahead of the week, or did you kind of just come in feeling like, hey, I know the course, of course, maybe as well as anybody? Just what were some of your preparations like?
Yeah, I think, the biggest thing was just keeping the ball in play there, and try to make a lot of pars, and then kind of last round you can kind of get after it a little bit. Yeah, I think most importantly for me was just making sure that my swing was in tune, like always before a tournament. But yeah, definitely some key factors were keeping the ball in play off the tee, and then yeah, you just have to miss them in the right spots out there, and definitely having some prior knowledge of where to miss it out there has definitely helped me a ton, because you can get in some bad spots. So yeah, I think just having the prior knowledge, I kind of knew kind of what I had to do out there, and then yeah, just making sure everything was in tune.
Excellent, excellent. Well, your margin of victory for the week, I think, I don't know if it was a Vermont record, but I certainly wouldn't be surprised if it
Yeah,
was. I think you ended up winning by a total of 12 strokes, which is
yeah.
again just absolutely phenomenal. And so, what would you say, like, if there was ever, like, when you were starting to get into the tournament, did you always feel comfortable from the start, or were there ever moments like during the week where maybe you kind of felt like you had to take a step back, reset? I was just curious, like, it seemed like you were on autopilot, but were there any moments where you kind of maybe had to take a moment just to kind of right the ship in any particular way?
Yeah, absolutely. The first two rounds, kind of my strategy was just kind of to do what I did and make a lot of pars and stay around even. I knew that it was going to be playing hard, and it was a tough setup. So just do whatever I can to not kind of shoot myself in the foot and get myself out of the tournament was the biggest thing for me. And then the last round, I think the third round I shot one over, which I wasn't super pleased with, but I had still kind of extended my lead a little bit, which was nice. So that was after that I kind of did reset, just to understand that there's still a lot of golf left, and I still had to kind of take care of business a little bit. And then yeah, I went out there the last round and eventually kind of ran away with it, which was great. It was definitely, like you said, different than my first am. So yeah, it was just kind of resetting in between those rounds, I would say. Just knowing that it wasn't particularly the best round, that third round, but there was still a lot of golf left, and that I did have to kind of mentally reset and get ready for that final round.
Excellent. Very good. Now, again, I just thinking about, like, the way that you ended up winning is, and when you also, of course, factor in like the fact that it was Ekwanok, it's a place where so well, love so much, and you just think of the stature that it has, not only again in the state of Vermont, but also maybe just not even New England golf, maybe even just national golf too, with the
Yeah.
Met victory and some other aspects. If you were to try to like think about the gravity of what you accomplished in the last 2 weeks, as far as like your win there, how would you say like the 2026 Vermont Amateur win stacks up amongst all your other accomplishments so far?
Yeah, I think that was definitely, I felt like I was kind of on cloud nine a little bit there. When I finally hit that final putt. Yeah, I mean that's definitely is number one for sure. I mean, I couldn't have kind of shaped up a better week. Just how everything went down. How it was just so special to me that week. I know how important it is for um, my family. We get to experience USAM. Yeah, they were great for me the whole week. And then yeah, there was some other things that made that week a lot more special. But it couldn't have gone. I couldn't have painted a better picture for it. So yeah, I'd say it was definitely number one, and it went pretty perfectly. So
Excellent. Well, congratulations again, man.
thanks.
It's just so awesome to see you win
Yeah,
win another one in the state of Vermont. And again, I as you said, I think to do it at the place that is Ekwanok Country Club,
yeah,
it's tough to write, I think, a better one than
yeah.
that.
No, thank you. I
So that's
appreciate it.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's great. Fantastic, man.
thank
Yeah,
you.
and again, as you mentioned, one of the things that I don't think people necessarily realize is that by winning the Vermont Amateur, you have now punched your ticket to the 2026 U.S. Amateur as well, which this year is going to be at Marion. Which, again, if I would imagine that Marion would probably be on a pretty short list of places you'd want to be able to play the USAM
Yeah,
at. So that sounds like a pretty awesome opportunity. But Yeah, I was curious. Maybe before we get into this year's, what have your experiences in USAM been like so far? I think I think from our, talking before we started recording, I think you've made it there before. And also last year you had made it to the final qualifying at Wellesley Country Club in Mass and had missed out. So what are your experiences maybe so far to date in the U.S. Amateur? And would you say that missing out last year was like a motivation for you to win the Vermont Am this year?
Yeah, I mean it's definitely the pinnacle of amateur golf, and you kind of understand that once you step foot at that sort of venue. Um, yeah, Hazeltine was an unbelievable experience. I definitely was not ready for it. It was just something that it was a great experience. I had learned so much that week, but I think just I was a lot smaller than I am now. I was really young. I just wasn't quite ready for that level of golf yet. And I think now I think I am sort of ready for that, and I'm looking forward to taking up that challenge. Luckily enough, I had played in 2 US juniors, so I kind of had those experiences. And yeah, so I've played in the USJ events. I know what it feels like, and now I feel like I have a real chance to go out and do something. So I'll take those experiences and use them as learning curves, and use it to my advantage to get ready for this one.
Excellent. Excellent. Very good. And as far as like, I guess we're coming up to, I'm trying to think of when it actually is. It's probably, I think it's less than a month away or close to it at this point. So yeah, what will the time leading up to that look like? Do you know, like, for example, like if you're going to be able to play some practice rounds, get on site pretty soon? What is like the rest of the summer leading up to Marion look like for you?
Yeah, so actually I head out in a couple days to go to the Canadian Amateur up out in Calgary. So that'll be great. I'm looking forward to that. It'll be my first time playing in a Canadian Am, so I'm looking forward to that. And then yeah, it'll be a pretty quick turnaround to the USAM. But yeah, I'll kind of go through my same sort of business that I do for any other tournament, kind of treat it like any other week. But yeah, obviously I understand, the weight of kind of being in the US Amateur. So yeah, I'll just go about it how I always do, and yeah, I'll go out to the Canadian Am, and then I'll get ready for the US Am as best as I can, and go play a couple practice rounds. I'm not going to get out there before, unfortunately, but just with the timing of the Canadian Am and trying to get ready for that as well. Um, so I mean, I'll try to get a good feeling for the course, those couple days leading up to the event, and then yeah, kind of get out there and get after it.
Excellent. Very good. Very good. Well, it's always great to see the New England folks heading down there, even at the mid amateur level. There's always a
Yeah,
pretty
absolutely.
good crew. I feel like I know Matt Parziali went last year as well from that qualifier. So
Yeah,
even to see like some of the stalwart mid ams from the New England region, plus all the state amateur winners compete, it's always very special. So again,
absolutely.
congratulations on
Yeah,
being able to get
thank
down
you.
there this year. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, yeah.
Very good. Awesome. Well, Lucas, this has been wonderful. I guess maybe the last thing to close out our conversation here, with any guests that I have, and people hear me say this all the time, but really, this effort for me is really a celebration of golf here in the New England region, and that's the people in the story like yours, of course. The courses and the landscape and the events that just make it such a special place, and really trying to paint a picture for anyone outside the region as well, just to help them understand, why this is a region that should be revered as far as golf is concerned, and why it's one certainly worth traveling to check out the golf here. So I guess maybe in your own words, what do you think are some of the things that you love most about New England golf? What makes it such a special, thing here in the New England region? And what are some of the courses that you feel like you've experienced that are some of your favorites and maybe define golf the best here?
Yeah, absolutely. New England golf is obviously very special. It holds a special spot in my heart. Just for you get the beauty of you know, especially in Vermont, you get the beauty of the mountains. You get kind of a mix of everything, and then I've played a ton of really great golf courses like in Mass, and it's just it doesn't get much better than um, you know the views that you get. You look at all the list of the top 100 courses in America, and you find yourself that a lot of them are actually in New England. and it's just true. Like there's so many great golf courses. I think the best of the best definitely stack up against the best of the best anywhere. And that's just because of all the great designers that have come through here and made some unbelievable places. And it's just not an experience like you'll get at any other place. You come in the fall, you get the foliage. I you know it, there's definitely a different kind of grittiness that comes from New Englanders having such a short season. So I think that's also something that's super special about golf in New England. And then yeah, it's an experience like unlike any other. And I've just grown to appreciate it so much just from growing up here and then kind of branching out. um, I always just find myself so appreciative of, what this place kind of brings. And so, yeah, that's my pitch to anybody that would want to come and take a visit.
Awesome. Well said. Well said. Yeah, I couldn't have said that much better myself. I
Yeah.
think, and
Yeah.
I think it's probably, I mean, I'm sure it's probably like similar for a lot of people, but it's like even general travel. Like I've been able to play in the last couple of years, a fair amount of places in the country. But I think whenever I come back and I play, North Shore, Massachusetts, where I live, or somewhere up in Maine or New Hampshire, it's just a reminder of, yeah, it's just like, this is for me, it's like I can't imagine having a better place to call like my
Exactly.
home
Yeah.
area for
Yeah.
golf, and even just life in general. I think we're
Yeah.
very blessed here in this part of the nation.
Absolutely. Yeah. I like go down to school and everything's so fast paced. And then, this summer I've like, oh, I love Vermont so much. And like, I've just grown to appreciate like the pace of everything. And yeah, I mean, I hope I can kind of be here for a long time. So yeah, I just love it so much.
Excellent. Very good. Very good. Awesome. Well, thank you again so much, Lucas, for your time.
Absolutely.
I know it's been a crazy couple weeks for you, certainly with the
Yeah.
Vermont Am, and then you, of course, just we're coming out of the New England Am as well, which is always a big event, and certainly this year at a pretty crazy golf course and great horse, but certainly an awesome one, tough competition. So, and yeah, you got Marianne, of course, coming up. So with everything you have going on, I can't thank you enough for taking some time out of your schedule to have a great conversation with us, and certainly look forward to seeing how you do at Marion, and seeing how you do in college as well coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It was a lot of fun.
My pleasure, Lucas. All right, you take care.
Yeah, you as well. All right, we'll see
All
you.
right,
All right,
bye
bye.
bye.